It's 6:30 in the morning. It's 10th of April 2014. Back to the Grand Cross stuff, folks. Over yesterday we had Sun opposite Mars, and over the last 2 or 3 days I've been hearing more and more about people having bumps and bangs and bruises and broken bones, and particularly burns. I was talking to people in my car hire company yesterday, where I rent my cars from when I go driving, and they were saying that just in this last week they've had more accidents, more car crashes than at any time in the last 2 years. I was also talking last night to a client of mine who's a surgeon, who's saying that he's simply not doing any operations at this time because in this last couple of days he's just found that people are just bleeding. There's a lot more blood around, literally. And this is a commonly held story in astrology, and apparently it's an old wives' tale, but it's true. Whenever there's a full moon or whenever there's a sun opposite Mars, blood flow increases substantially. Sensible surgeons don't operate on a full moon or on a sun opposite Mars. It's a very volatile time, but it's over. As of yesterday, the sun is now past opposition to Mars, and that won't happen again for another 2.5 years. And next time it won't be involved in a Grand Cross. So now we move into phase 3 of the Grand Cross. We're now heading into, well, we're in the hardcore surgery. Everything's open, there's transplants going on, there's major upgrades going on, and I'm not talking about software, I'm talking about metaphysical hardware upgrades we're all going through. And phase 3 of the Grand Cross is now ushering in, and it's only 4 or 5 days away. In 4 or 5 days there will be a total eclipse of the moon at 25 degrees of Libra. This is going to particularly affect people with Pluto at 25 Libra. That's a whole generation of people born around 1991/2. It's going to affect the whole generation with Neptune born in Libra. That's people born spring 54 through to summer 55. And it's going to affect all those people with Uranus in Libra, born about 38, 39 years ago from now, but with Uranus at the end of Libra. And it's a particularly difficult full moon, simply because although it's not aspecting the Grand Cross, it's on a number of midpoints. It's very close to Mars. This nonsense around the blood moons, and anyone else who throws Bible quotes at me is going to get banned from my site. Nevertheless, I do expect this full moon to be somewhat red in colour. It's not going to be visible from the UK, unfortunately. You'll get it in Australia. But I do expect some type of either atmospheric interference or some other correlation to produce a red colour. And yes, there will be lots of chatter about blood moons, but, you know, I'm not going there. It's end game. There's so many endings around. So every other chart I'm doing now, every other chart, in fact more, maybe 6 out of 10 charts I'm seeing at the moment are all full of what I call end game material. So many people now over so many years, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a few cases, since Pluto moved into Capricorn, certainly since Uranus moved into Aries, there's a lot of stuff that's happened to a lot of people in the last 3 or 4 years that is now getting finally and permanently mopped up. And I think the eclipse is giving us individually a last chance to be able to make final decisions and to take final actions and to bring closure into a number of areas of our lives, because if we don't, then immediately after the eclipse, or at least a week after the eclipse, when the Grand Cross is at its strongest, and I can now suggest that the Grand Cross will be at its strongest between April the 20th and April the 25th, then those of us that don't choose to make those choices willingly will find that we have to make them anyway. I repeat, as I've said many times before, it is an eliminative time. It is a time of closure as well as new beginnings, but the new beginnings aren't going to really start flowering until we're into the end of this month. For a lot of people, May and June are beginning to look far, far easier than I previously suspected. And I repeat yet again, for most of us, 80% of the trouble of this year is over by the end of April. Next up, total eclipse. Keep your eyes on the sky. Mars, saw Mars last night. Spectacular. Baleful red prescient, looming, scary. Look into the east just after sunset. You should see a bright, bright Mars. Catch you later, folks. Have a good one. Bye.